Alright. Hey guys. This is our trip to our favorite hardware store. And this is all the parts for our second workbench and part of our first workbench. And yeah, we've got the moonroof or the sunroof open. Okay, someone needs to shift for me. Alright, anyway.
Hello.
Hi.
It's me.
It smells like my favorite hardware store in my garage. Probably because of all this wood that I have in here to make our second workbench with. I will get to work on all of this stuff. So we've got all this wood here. We've got everything is pretty much cut. I did salvage a bunch of these smaller pieces from that project, and so all of my 21-inch boards are going to be I'm going to have to cut by hand, and the old-fashioned way, if I can find my handsaw, because as I will review later, the little cordless circular saw that I have sucks. Alright, well, I got the wrong screws. These are wider, the heads are wider than the holes. I guess that's one way Kreg makes his money, or their money, is by making a special size hole for their special size screw. So we're going back to, you got it, my favorite hardware store, and we're gonna return these screws. My exhaust in the back. Return these screws for some proper ones, as well as it's always nice to go to the hardware store and check things out. I didn't want to bore you with showing a bunch of high-speed construction of the other workbench, but I wanted to show you a part of what I did with the plans on this one opposed to the first one. So if we take a look here, on these plans, you'll notice that there's a thinner line across here. Now that is a 2x4 that is horizontal rather than vertical. If you remember on this workbench, the shelf on the bottom, the 2x4 is vertical like this, which gives it a lot more strength that way when it comes to weight and everything like that, because there's 3.5 inches of material that's holding that part up, whereas when you turn it horizontal, it has a tendency to want to flex, mostly because there is only 1.5 inches of wood underneath the surface, so it will have a tendency to bend. However, if you look here on this particular drawing, the span is only 4 feet. It's not very far, and it's really going to be just light boxes and things like that of screws and odds and ends. It's not going to have a whole lot of heavy stuff on it, so this should be fine the way it is here. Now the other thing that I did that was different on this one than I did on the other one is across the bottom there is a stringer that I put across that is also horizontal rather than vertical like I did on the first workbench. This is mostly because the casters, when they came in, the plate was a little bit wider than the 4x4, and so the screws would come in and they would just shave right into the sides, not really gripping on anything. So I was able to move those casters over a little bit so that I can bite into some meaty part of the wood and gives a good grip for those casters. So down here you'll see that I've just screwed right into the 4x4. Here's a vertical 2x4, and yet we've got now over here we've got these horizontal 2x4s. And so if you look and you see here, I've got these little pockets. I was able to drill these little pockets, and they're on a particular angle. I don't know exactly what the angle is, but it goes in and it bites into the wood here, which makes for a very, very strong connection. Now over here, it's the same thing, okay? But these, I also had the guy cut these just slightly stronger than the width between this 4x4 and that other 4x4. So I had to hammer it down to get it into place. And then I also put a clamp down here on this line so that it would keep it from going down any further. So this is what I want to show you, these pockets and how I made these pockets. And we're going to do one on these here. So let me show you this stuff over here, these products. All right, so I found at my favorite hardware store this product called, made by Kreg. It's a Kreg Jig Mini Kit. So the Mini Kit consists of the jig itself, a collar that actually stops the bit from going in any particular distance, and then of course a hex key, Allen key, used for tightening that collar. And the most important, instructions. This tells you that this jig can be used on 1.5 inch material, 3/4 material, and 1/2 inch material, and it tells you where you need to line up this jig to be able to have that proper angle that would then bite into the material that you're butting up against. Because we're using 2x4s, and as we've mentioned before, 2x4s really aren't 2 inches by 4 inches. That's what they started off with as rough sawn timber, and then as they start to finish it off, it actually finishes to 1.5 inch by 3.5 inch. So you lose 1/2 inch, but they still call them 2x4s because that's the raw state. Then it also tells you that you need some clamps. So we've got our clamps. This is the clamps that we use. Some Irwin quick grips. I really like those. Builds up forearm muscles. And it also tells us if we're using over here 1.5 inch, we need to use a 2.5 inch pocket screw. So I went and grabbed the pocket screws for this particular product, soft or plywood. So we're using pine, they're 2x4 studs. And so it's a soft wood, and at 2.5 inches, and this is what, I'll put it up against the paper so you can see it a little better. It's coated in some sort of blue coating that helps with, this is an indoor and outdoor screw. So that will go into it, and you'll notice, I don't know if you can see close enough on that, but it looks almost like there's a washer on there. So it's, I've heard reference that it's almost like having a built-in washer, and this comes in. Now if you look at this bit, it's stepped down. So we've got the hole that it starts for the screw, and then we've got, so as the screw comes in, it stops where that step is. So we've got our collar set for, this says here, for 1.5 inch material, we want it to be 4 1/8 inch from the step. Now it says here that we have to take this 1 1/4 inch from the edge of the wood in, and that's where we set that. And then you use your clamp to clamp that down on top of the wood to keep it from moving. So we're going to go through and we'll do one of them so you can kind of see how it's done. It's really, really easy. We've got our 2 pieces of 2x4 that we're going to use. Again, they're going to go in this section. These are the bases for the shelf that's going to be underneath the top of the workbench. If you recall from our instructions, we need to go 1 1/4 inch from the side here. So let's take our tape measure. We'll go in 1 1/4 inch right there. 1 1/4 inch right there. And of course we're going to do it on the back, because remember, I'm going to do 2 on this side, 1 on this side. Same thing down over there, but we'll just focus on these. Next, to keep it all nice and straight, we use our carpenter square, okay, our framing square. I just put my lead right there on that, bring my square to it, line it up, and go. All right, so the next thing I want to do is evenly space these two across here. So what I'm doing, if you look closely on here, you'll see my increments. I got 1 inch, so I go in 1 inch. All right, and I go 1 inch, so 3 1/2 to 2 1/2, going back. And that's basically where my holes are going to be. All right, so I'm going to do that up here, because you never can trust your cuts. I mean, that looks pretty dang straight, but you never know. So then I'm just going to take this again here, bring that to that. And these are just guides for me. So as I'm lining up the holes on here, I can, let's just quickly do this one. I can use these holes, these lines, as guides for parts on the jig. Now we've got our jig, and you can see on our jig we've got these lines, and this is the line that I use to line up with these lines here. And then you can also see in here, and then also when you're looking down on top of this, you can see where the sweet spot is, the low spot of that curve, and you can just kind of eyeball it when you're looking straight down on top of it. So I'm going to get a top view here. I got my clamp. Let's look down on top of this here. So that looks pretty dang close right there. Again, this is just a workbench, you know. We're not making furniture for Mom inside the living room. All right, so we've got the jig all set up. We've got the bit on the driver, okay, on the drill. And then we just shove that baby right in the hole, get it started. Go faster. So that's where it stops, right there. All right, undo it. And there's the hole. We've got all the pockets drilled on these. I had this knot, if you notice right there, we got this knot. Knots are a lot denser wood, and most drill bits have a hard time going through knotted wood. In fact, on that bench, if you look closely enough, you'll notice that one of the screws in the screw hole is missing because it happens to be my drill bit that went through a knot, and I ended up pounding it in like a nail and leaving there because my drill couldn't pull it out. This is the top of the workbench. I've got it upside down. And underneath the 2x4 supporting the top, I went 6 3/4 inches up, and that's where the top of these stringers are going to be, from there to there. So, but what I want to do is I want to see where it is here, and I'll show you why. First, what I'll do is, because I've got these lines here, again, I'm just going to put my lead of my pencil right on that line and drop this down to it. Mark it across. So there's my line, okay? So it's come from here to here. I've done that on this one, and I've done it on both sides of this one. I have yet to do it on that one. But let's go ahead and do this side. A little tighter than that span. What I do with these, with my clamps now, is I'll come in and I'll rest this line right or this edge of this pad right on that line that I just drew to tell me where it's coming down. So as I'm pounding down, it's holding the one end up, and then it gives me something to stop up against, and then I can do some fine tapping to kind of get it all leveled out and everything like that, so it's level across. So first, let's take this one. As you see here, I got it right on that line. Bring it in, clamp it down. There's one. Where's my other one? There it is. There's the other one. Going up and down in the elevator. Or no, jumping up and down on the alligator. All right, family funny. Kudos to anybody who could tell me what movie that line is from. All right, hammer. This probably isn't the best hammer to use. I love this hammer because the handle is so long and it gives you some good force when driving nails. But if you see that end, it's all waffled. Again, this is a workbench. This is gonna get beat to heck. So when you hit, it leaves a little waffle marks in the wood. So if you're doing something and you don't want that, I would just use a regular finishing hammer, or a dead blow mallet would be really good, because it will disperse the impact and it won't leave marks like that in it. But I don't care. Again, it's a workbench. So bring it down. Okay, you notice that this is a little bit out right here, and this is a little bit in right there. So we're just gonna do some fine tapping. Make sure that we're all rest on there. Flush there. Now I'm gonna have to look at this side. All right, perfect. Okay, so one thing I didn't show you is my other drill. Where did I put my other drill? There it is. This is one of my older drills. It's old, it's all coming apart, but made by Panasonic. But you didn't know Panasonic made drills. Old 12 volt. This is the 4th battery change I've had to do since working on this bench. But this is the bit for these pocket screws that we'll be using on here. So we'll take pocket screws, 2 for this side, right? That in there. You feel the little countersink hole. 2 in here. Okay. Yeah, back when I first got this little drill, oh man, it was powerful little thing. I don't know if I can get the batteries for it anymore. See how that just tore away all that knot, but it sunk right in there. So that's good. All right, so that is this side. I'm gonna get that other one in. Then I'm gonna flip this thing over onto its feet, and we're gonna put the tops on there. And also, but before I put the tops on this particular shelf, I'm going to put that 3rd pocket screw into each of the sides, just to give it a little bit more strength. So I'll get right to this one, and we'll come back when we're ready to do the rest. All right. So we are done with our second workbench. The other third workbench may or may not happen. I don't have a need for it right now. So this is gonna be it for a while. It wasn't expensive in the overall scheme of things, and check it out, it's rollable. Let's take these off the rollers. It's, you know, and so if I need to, I can move it out here, lock it, do some stuff out here. I can push it over here now rather easily. Spin around 360 degrees on its own. And I can move it right here where it's going. Now, of course, it wants to come back to me, but you know, it's because I haven't locked the locks yet on the wheels. We lock the wheels, bam, there's your workbench. Now, for a short person, this is probably not good. Because look, I mean, it comes to this fat boy's waistline right there. But it's fine because it gives me room here that I can put some of these containers that I store stuff in right along here. My tools that come in hard cases can go right down there. If I want, I can put my vac, my shop vac down there, and a small air compressor if I wanted to, and that becomes mobile with the whole thing. It's not really a shop style power strip, but this power strip right here, or I can get another one similar to it, but heck, I can attach it to the side over here, and I've got power that comes with it, you know, it's movable. Plug it into there, and I've got, you know, 2, 4, 6, 7 outlets. So it's starting to open up quite a bit. We'll get all this stuff kind of put away onto these workbenches and get started on taking this motorcycle apart and getting it stripped down so I can send it off to my buddy Danny to get painted up and get that all ready. While he's painting and tricking out, working his magic, I'm gonna take that engine apart, get things over to some machine shops to see if they can't get that all taken care of. Start ordering parts for the bike. Well, Beatrice, I think we did a pretty good job. What do you think? We've got both our benches done. We've got one more little bench we can make, but that's not real important right now. We got the next thing that we want to get, the next two things we want to get is the tool chest to get all my tools out of the bags and things so they're not getting banged up. And hopefully some way of being able to lift that motorcycle up so that we can get into it without having to get on our bellies and climb underneath, which would be nigh impossible for me. Got our little sitting area. Those chairs are comfortable, aren't they?
And the mini fridge.
And your mini fridge. Beatrice wanted a mini fridge for our conversation area, and so this is our mini fridge right here. It's Grandma's cooler. Every time the girls go and visit Grandma, she sends food home with them, and she sends her cooler, and then we have to go back, bring it with her, and then she fills it again and it comes back. So it's our mini fridge. It's what we can afford right now. But comfortable chairs, comfortable area to talk and sit back and look back at things. Guess what? Your sister got us this sticker, Life's Better in the Mountains, Flagstaff, Arizona. She got that, brought that, gave that to us. And you found this sticker in, where was it? Where'd you get this? Walmart. So we get to go put these things on. Our sticker board. We didn't get it in the mail today, and I lost one. And but we've got our my hat collection up here going. And I used to work in the sign industry, and so I salvaged these signs from a hotel. Not the 24, but the open part, and I just kind of put it open 24. If you ever have any decorations that you're wanting to get rid of and you think will look kind of cool in our set, feel free to email us. We can get you some shipping information, or you can just send it to our P.O. box, which all that information is down below in the comments section. But let's put these stickers up. What do you think? They're so comfortable they're hard to get out of. All right. Where are you going to put them this time? Are you going to need this step to reach it?
No.
No, you think you can get it? Where are you going to put it?
Route 66 here.
Route 66 right there? Okay. What's significant about Route 66 here in Arizona?
It's in Arizona.
It goes through Arizona, yep. Actually goes up past Flagstaff, up through Flagstaff. There you go. That's kind of a bubbly one.
Right here.
Right there. All right, there's Route 66. And then how about that one? Where are you gonna put that one? Over here by self and all that, right here in the middle, maybe?
Over here.
Over there by the soft spot. Okay. Now you can get wild and crazy with it. You can tilt it if you want. But too late now, you put it down. All right.
The next one.
You know, every garage that I've been to has something in common. It has a calendar of some sort, typically something sumptuous and just, desirable. So I've got myself a calendar for our workshop. I'm gonna put it over here so you can see it every time. What it is, bacon, 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 2019. So let's open this bad boy up. See what we got in some of these things. Right there, that's too much bacon. Yeah, right, never. Said no one ever. But it's pretty cool. Picked it up from my favorite hardware store. They happen to have little things like this every now and again for sale. So we're on January, right, B?
Yep.
January, let's see if this will fit right here. I'll put up a little thing. Can't reach over my, there we go. Right there, that's too much bacon, said no one ever. Great, well hey, we're excited. We've got this this workshop, our garage, all set up as a studio, as a workshop, as a place to sit down and talk with friends and each other, and just to hang out. And of course, where Mom is standing right now with the camera, a place for her to park her car. So we've got some multi-use out of our garage, and we look forward to having fun. We're going to get started on this bad boy right here. Our motorcycle, Honda Shadow, a 1999 Honda Shadow. Our next episode, we're going to talk a little bit about how we got this, a little bit of history in our hands, and why we've decided to chop it down. But anyways, anything you want to say? No? How about subscribe, like, and share?
Five, four.
She's new, so you gotta remember.
Okay.
Okay.